Hello, I'm retired Battalion Chief Larry Cockman, Chairman of the Greensboro Fire Department History Book Committee. The American Fire Service is rich in tradition and culture. A firefighter's life is filled with many emotional highs and lows. Stories of major fires, national disasters, medical calls, firehouse living, and family life are often verbally shared from one generation to another. Many times these stories are lost forever when a firefighter passes away. In an effort to preserve these stories, in 2019, the Greensboro Fire Department History Book Committee launched a new program of recording audio-video of our retirees' lives. These stories will be shared on our website, gfhbc.org. In 2020, we did not record because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Please listen as these firefighters share their life experiences with all of us.
Chuck Mardis. I'm 68 years old. Came on in 1977, so I did 34 years with sick leave, 33 and a half really. And my rank was fire captain. Well, I was originally from Fayetteville. I was born in Winston-Salem, I don't know why, but my dad was in the 82nd Airborne. And so we lived in Fayetteville till 1960. So I was born in 54, so 6 years there. And we moved to Greensboro in 1960, and I've been here ever since. When I came on the fire department, no, I wasn't related, but now my son-in-law, Dan Holcomb, is a firefighter, just made engineer, and he's getting ready to be transferred. I was also related by marriage to David Spears, Chief Spears. Before joining the fire department, I was a machinist. I worked on diesel engines for a company here in Greensboro, and also did work for Petty Enterprises and did some things for them. I run a boring machine. I did all their blocks. They'd bring at what's his name? Richard's brother, I can't remember his name, but he was the mechanic. He would bring stuff to me, so yeah. Well, at the time, the reason I became a firefighter and left the machinist, I thought the benefits were better. I never really grew up thinking I wanted to be a fireman. I know a lot of people did, but I was thinking of the future, the benefits. Seemed like a pretty cool job to have. Somebody said they were hiring. I went up and put my application in, ran through the course, and out of 16 people, I was one of the lucky ones to get a job. The process that we went through with hiring is I went, of course, after an application, they put us through an aptitude test, and we went, and I don't know if they do anything like that. You put the round pegs and the round holes and the washers, and you did all this, and that was done through the Employment Security Commission. And once you got through there, then a name, I guess, went back to the city, and the city probably forwarded the names back to the fire department, and then we went to the training center and did an agility test, which consisted, is probably not as like we see out there today when you ride by or I'm out there and you see. It was more like we did some jumping jacks, some push-ups, we lifted hose, we climbed the stairs, ran around the tower, and I think we ran like a 50-yard dash with a Scott Air Pack. And after that, it was, if you passed that, I guess you was good enough to have a job. So I'm close. I will believe it was somewhere around $590 a month when I got, and I think they thought we were so good that I think the city readjusted things that we actually went to about $620 a month before we graduated. That was in 1977. My training class, we had 16 guys in the training class, and I'm gonna try to go alphabetically, and I hope I don't leave anybody out. But Richard Beeson was in there, Bill Brown was in there, Larry Gaulden, Marvin Fanning, Steve England, a guy whose last name Milton, myself. There was a guy that I sat beside named McPherson that actually quit the day of graduation. That his old job came back, and he just said, I got to go back. A guy with the last name Murphy that I didn't think stayed long. Keith Russell, Chuck Whitworth, Jimmy Williams, Richard O'Brien. That's the one. If that's 12, I got them all, but I wasn't counting. So.
Good for old man.
Yeah, yep. Memory's not the first thing to go, I guess. Well, I remember funny stories that we had in training. There was a couple of them that I recall, and one of them was we were climbing ladders one day, and I guess from behind, me and Larry Gaulden kind of looked a lot alike. And so I was up on the ladder and pulling hose, and I guess I wasn't doing it right. And Clarence Hilliard was one of my training officers. And he was just chewing me out, and he was saying, Gaulden, you're not doing that right. And I didn't turn around and say I wasn't Gaulden. And so another time I was doing something that was right. He said, Gaulden, that's a good job. And I turned around and said, no, it's Mardis. So I made sure he knew that it was me on good things, it was Gaulden on bad things. The second thing, we was doing a vacuum test. And I'm going to mention his name, I'm sure he won't mind, but remember they had those small glass that you put up on in the flashlight to see if the hose collapsed in the vacuum. Well, Chief Hilliard put the glass down on the sideboard of the truck, and Jimmy Williams stepped up there and broke it. And so he went back and he says, I got one more piece of glass, and he put it back down. He said, nobody touch it. And sure as the world, Jimmy put his foot back up there and broke that glass again. So we had two. So we didn't get to do the test that day. I don't know if he remembers that or not, but I remember that. During my career, to feel like we were doing something special, I think you was always out in the public, and I think the public looked at you different than they looked at me when I was doing something else. I think that we had, from the tradition of the fire department and the men of the fire department that came before us, we were known as guys that would go above and beyond to do the right thing. And we was there for you, and we wasn't there for any other reason than for the people that we were there to protect. And I think the respect that we got out of that from the public, I think made us feel special. I also think that the guys that were there were special, and so that treatment was warranted. When I got out of training, my first assignment was Engine 4. I can even say it was on a B shift. We got Engine 4. My first captain was Bob Gulledge. Driver on the company was Ken Gillis. Second driver was Randy Parrish. Johnny Jones was on the back, and I was, at that time, they put a fifth guy on the truck. And we were we were paired with Truck 10 then, which was an old snorkel. Jack Friddle was the captain on there, and Bucky Marsh was there, Jimmy Gwynn was there, and I can't remember who the driver was, but.
Anything you remember about your first captain that stands out? I'm talking positive things.
Around the fire station, and things that we did in the eating, I thought was very important. I know a lot of people, and that was their decision to make, went out. I always kidded guys that cooking is on your evaluation. That is something that you need to learn how to do. Get two meals you could cook if you're in two company stations once every 7 days or 8 days. One company station every 4 days, just get something new, cook hot and learn how to cook a hot dog on Saturday. But the sitting around, I mean, it's not just sitting around and eating together, it's the cooking together, it's the helping. The guys got in trouble, hey, I know how to do this, I'll help you. We're a little behind today, we wrote a call, everybody jumps in there and makes it done. It's a team building like thing also. Plus, it's a time for you to sit down sometimes and maybe not talk about the fire department. Andy Griffith's on the TV, we're laughing at this, we're doing that. So I always thought that eating at the fire station was important than to get out into the public, which was nothing wrong with it, and be distracted by the outside things. I like to think I was. I'm still cooking at home was I a good cook? I think I had some recipes that everybody liked and tried to, Charlie Jones liked my steak and gravy, and it's an inside joke because he'd come back and he said, I can't make it taste like you did. And then finally he found out I told him all ingredients except one. I didn't tell him the little secret ingredient made the taste. So I had a few. I think steak and gravy is what I got requested a lot, but I would try to cook, different things, not just that every time. Well, the dorm rooms, when we had the dorm rooms, I thought, we didn't know any better. We had the big hospital beds, where it was more military barracks type living, and we didn't know there was anything different. If you wanted private room, you had to strive to be a captain or battalion chief where you could get your own room. But I thought that all of us being together was a good time. I didn't have a problem with that. I thought that, you know, even though somebody might keep you up at night, snoring a little too much or whatever, but you were all in there together. The team was there. The team was there with you. Discussions a lot of times made, you know, while you're going to sleep, you're talking about this or that or the other. Yeah, probably toilet paper. Pillows, you know, pillows would hit people. I've even heard of people dragging their a bed out in the apparatus floor because a guy snoring too much, or pick him up and carry him out. But I like the concept. I think that going and getting in your own room is just keeping you apart. And I think that the company should be together. Yes, the difference is, I think today from the time that we came on, I'm not in and out of the stations quite as much, but what we just visited on, I mean, it seems like that when you come in, you almost got to find the group. They're in different areas doing different things, where in our days you came in, there was always somebody at the table with somebody else, or you was always in the dorm, always in the office doing reports together. I feel like that now it's more of an individualized fire department, you know, in more than a team fire department. That's what I see, and it might not be true, but I'm not in there all the time, you know. So the changes I see now, I think our apparatus are what I see when I'm out on the, you know, I go over to the gym and work out and stuff, and I see fire apparatus that is a lot better than what we had. It's a lot easier to operate, and I think that's a good thing, because a lot of, you know, it's helps the citizens. The equipment's better. You know, you can set it up faster. You can do things like that. Technology, I don't have a problem with technology. We got some of it as we came through. And, you know, technology is a fine thing if it's used the right way. And I think that we did. I mean, you know, when it first came in, I was resistant. We was handwriting reports like I told you before. We was looking up in the dictionary how to spell things on our reports. And then the computers came in and started, we don't need these. Well, 6 months in, we don't want to write these things again, you know. And with the computers that went on the truck, you know, we don't need these on the truck. And then all of a sudden, when you got a reserve truck that didn't have the computer on it, man, we can't hardly operate without this, you know. So technology is a fine thing when it's used, and I think the technology that the fire department's brought in there is a good thing. Well, the open cab trucks, we had them when we first came on. Some of the enclosed cabs had just showed up in the Hans, which were not heated. They were heated up front, but not heated where the firefighters sit in the back. But when I was at Station 11 on a squad, I had to ride Engine 11, which was still an American France open, you know, to fill in or something. And them cold nights, oh man, you know. And so what you would do is you would throw a towel up into the jump seat and a blanket. And then when you got a call, you know, you'd wrap the towel around your head and then throw the blanket over your head and then ride down the road because it's 20 degrees outside. The worst part I think we had, it was somewhere down off of 421 that always had a fire alarm. You know, and back in them days, we sat and wait till the property representative came. And so you're sitting out there in an open air truck, it's 35 degrees and raining, and you got a guy that's coming that's 40 minutes away, and you can't leave. You know, yes, tops and technology on tops and heat was a good thing. My first fire I do remember was on Engine 4, it was on Sussman Street. I remember it, and I had a panic moment when I was there because, of course, I was a rookie firefighter, so what was my job? I was a hydrant man. And so I jump off, you know, here it is, it's apartment fire down in the housing projects. And I jump off to catch the hydrant, wrap the hydrant, do everything I'm supposed to do, gate valves there. I look down, there's no hydrant wrench. I forgot to get the hydrant wrench. Well, the truck took off, and as it unloaded, it caught the hydrant wrench and spit it out and landed right beside my foot. And so I got everything hooked up and went up to, you know. And the biggest fire, of course, you know, guys at our age, it's got to be Davie Street. You know, I was acting captain because Captain Oakley was in the car that night. I was on truck 1, which was at Station 11, and we was just riding 2 people then. Remember, squad was assigned with us, but you know, they could have been out on a medical call. So I was acting captain, and we actually would, I'm not sure where the driver was, but Brooks Langley was driving. And, you know, in them days, the house set opened up on all calls. So we knew there was a fire going on downtown. Just didn't, you know, just kind of hearing things and sleeping in between it. And all of a sudden, you know, they hit, you know, second alarm for truck 1 to come. And when we pulled out of the station, there was smoke to the highway. And I said, oh boy, we're gonna be there a while, you know? And so we went up there and we were there, you know, all night. And then actually the next shift day that we came, our truck was still there. So on 2 days off, when we reported back to Station 11, we had to go back to the scene. We left the scene and then had to go back. And I remember Cliff Oakley making a statement that was very true. He said, after this, man, a house fire is nothing. And it was. I mean, I think you was probably there that night on Davie Street, and wow. Cause that bothered me, I guess, I mean, you know, all of them touch you a little ways, you know, a little here and there, but probably the one, I guess, sticks with me, and maybe it was just, my kids wasn't that age then, I don't know why, but I was on squad and we rode, had a wreck down at, it was off of South Elm Eugene Street, or almost at the city limits. The car had actually left the road and went down an embankment, and it was actually in the trees. It was off the ground, and there was a young man in there, and we was working to cut him out and all that kind of stuff. They put the trauma pants on him to try to keep blood pressure and stuff up. And once we got him out, the car was probably actually keeping him alive. And so when we got him out, of course, we lost him by the time we got to the ambulance. And when we looked, he had just got his driver's license that day. And he was 16 years old, and he had just got his driver's license and he died. And that, for some reason, that sticks to me, you know, so. Anyone that sticks out being positive, call, I think there's a lot of them. I think it's when you have wrote a medical call and the problem has been corrected. And when you go out to family members, thank you. I think it's when you go into, it may be not the biggest emergency, you go in and somebody's pipes busted in the house and they didn't know how to cut the water off, and you cut the water off and they didn't lose all their stuff, and it's a thank you from them. Things like that I think you build on, you know, and you know, of course we've all had a call where we've got somebody out of a fire or stuff like that, but I think the little things, I always thought the little things and the appreciations was what I can remember the most. Responding to medical calls, I think is still the reason that we got in the business, is that we could put somebody on the scene quicker than other people. You know, the EMS, they do a great job. EMS does do a great job, but they're limited on their resources where, you know, we had a station in almost every neighborhood and we tried to get there within 3 minutes. We could stabilize the situation or start something or even give information to them coming in. So medical calls, I think, is, we all wanted to fight the fire. And let's be real. I mean, we all wanted to fight that fire. And, you know, we didn't like the electrical investigations. You know, you come in, guys were happier when they was taking a shower when they had soot on them. But the medical calls, I think, is what we needed to be in at the time and still do. I mean, if I have a family member in the city of Greensboro, I would sleep better knowing that the fire department is answering medical calls just in case they have that problem. Being a Class 1 ISO rated, I was there when all that was going on. And of course, on the suppression end of it, a lot of it at that time to us, we felt like was, this is just more work we got to do. You know, well, the chiefs are wanting to do this and want to do that, and we're having to do all this. I don't think we really grasped what it meant for the city of Greensboro. And if you get down and you look between the lines, and what this really meant was, Greensboro grew because of that. You know, industries wanted to come in because the insurance was better. So whoever made the decision made the right decision. You know, even though we might not have liked it at the time, because, you know, firemen's traditional, you know, it's hard to change a fireman's mind on what we're doing. And you know that. And but at the end run, yeah, that was the thing to do. On 9/11, changing the fire service, I was actually on duty the day that 9/11. I was on duty. And it was funny that we were in the fire station and we was watching, we was getting ready to go test hydrants. And we were watching on television, the building was on fire, you know, and we didn't know at that time that a plane hit it. You know, it was just, hey, oh no, I'm sorry, the plane had hit it. But you know, hey, golly, a plane must have got off course and hit the trade center up there. And then another one hit, you know, but we were gone then, had left. And then we were actually over testing hydrants in a Yester Oaks Apartments, and a man came up to us and said, did you hear that a plane just flew into the Pentagon? And I thought, you know, something don't feel right about this. About that time, the radio came on and said, everybody return to the station. I think it got us to take a good look at the way we do things. I think it helped us to know that things could have happened here just as much there. Things like secondary devices and things that kept us safer. I think it made us look at this could happen here. We need to be prepared for that. And because I'll be admitted, as an officer, a lot of times we'd go into a dumpster fire. I never thought that maybe there was something behind us that could hurt us, that somebody was, there. But then after that, yeah, that was in our thought process. Watching all the firefighters go in there, you put yourself in their shoes, and you say, would I? And probably at the time, every firefighter's going to say, yes, I would, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Of course, the firefighters going in there didn't know how the ending was going to be. They did not know that, but I still think that most firefighters that are trained to do what they do and take the oath to be a firefighter would have took the risk knowing that could happen. Because we've been in places before that we know this is a little bit sticky in here, but we're still going to go in there because that was our job, and that's what we needed to do. Mentors in the fire department, golly, to put a hand on one or two, I always thought that I took, for even everybody I worked with, of course your officers are most of your biggest influence. Your captains are probably your biggest influence. You're around them more than you are the chief officers and stuff. But there was guys, in the station that did. I always felt like that I took a piece of everybody. Everybody had something, good, bad. Oh, I'll never do that. Oh man, that's pretty good. I think that you put back in your mind and say, this guy did it the right way. I'm gonna bring up something for you. Your brother, Raymond Cotman. Everybody wanted to be Raymond Cotman. Why not? Raymond was a great firefighter, great captain, great guy, great mentor, but he wasn't the only guy. That's not the only guy I worked for. Gary Fall, I don't want to go through all the names. Lloyd Halsey, had great officers. Jake Barham, Charlie Jones, everybody that I worked for, I felt like give me a piece at the end of my career. I was all of them. And myself, that I took and separated and made myself who I was. I know I was going to say, hey, what is it, OESPN? You ain't going to make me cry.
Who did the Big Bird for real?
I know who did it. You know who did it?
Well, he admitted to this morning.
Who? Waller?
Waller's
Yeah, he's instigated, but you know who?
The starter,
yeah, Steve Fuller. And Steve Fuller and all them did that, yeah. Got out there with them. Remember the Andrew Nyland thing where most heartbreaking moment was that on Friday, I talked to a fellow firefighter, and on Monday, he took his own life. And I guess in the cause, we expected that. We expected death. And when that was, you always say, well, we talked, could I said something different? What was going on? He didn't open up, but you never know. And like I said, and we actually rode the call to his house. And so that was a pretty bad moment for us. The firefighter suicide, I think that, yeah, there's probably things in the job that could trigger that, but I think that, that other background things may be in there that makes this trigger that they didn't reach out to the right people to be able to handle that situation. But, you never know. Suicide to me, I never could figure suicide out. And, that was always heartbreaking to me because I felt like that, that wasn't the way out, and the family has to sit back and deal with it. Coping with death when we did have death was, I think, came back to the unity of the fire station. I think you came back and leaned on your firefighters. A lot of it was you would make light. You would try to get back into normal, and to get back and get light. But I think somewhere in there, you had to process it and put it into a compartment and keep it there. Right. The death of a firefighter hits you hard because it's like, he was just here. He was just here doing the job and doing the same job I was doing. And whether it was on the fire ground or at the fire station or at home, it just, it was just a part of a family that you lost because the fire department was a big family. When they hired the first females for the fire department, they sent them to Station 8. And I was at Station 8, so we were in the very first, it was three female firefighters, Kay Pierman, Deanne Staley, and a girl whose last name was Trado, Melanie Trado, I believe is her name. And they came in the fire station. Melanie didn't stay, and of course we know Deanne and Kay went on and was very successful in the fire department. I think probably resentment was probably your first thought as a man that, let's be real and honest. This is our job, and then the females are coming in, getting their own bedrooms, and and at that time, yes, that's probably what needed to be happening. But I think as a firefighter in there and processing that they're getting special treatment because they're a female, and feeling that way. But after they got in the station, started doing their job, because we ended up transferring, and Deanne Staley, one of the best firefighters I ever worked with. And Kathy Smith was on my company, one of the best firefighters I ever worked with. I mean, she could fight fire. So I think it just, something new. Like I said, firemen don't like things new. Something new we had to get into where we knew that it was needed, they could do the job, and everything was good. Would I do it all over again? Yes, I would do it all over again. It was a great ride. I don't think there was hardly any day from day one to the last day I might want to be somewhere else. It could be a birthday party, or kids are going to the pool, or the baseball game. But I didn't mind getting up and going to work. And I would tell guys all the time, where else can you come to work and you know that it's probably going to be something different every day that we're here. We're going to ride a fire call, we're going to ride a medical call, but it's not going to be the same as the last one we rode. It's going to be different. It's going to keep us up going. So yes, I would do it again, and no regrets. No regrets. Do anything different in the fire department or outside the fire department? In the fire department. No, I don't think so. I mean, I was proud of what I did in my career and how I conducted myself. I felt like I came to work every day ready to work, and when 8 o'clock hit, I was ready to get off. The roles of firefighters, I guess, probably, and you just mentioned, we had started special teams when me and you were still there a little more, and I think they're probably a little more sophisticated now than they were when we started them. Of course, we was in on the ground floor, and we was all babies at it. The building collapse team, we was putting, we didn't basically know what we were doing, whether it was right or wrong. We was just trying to do it. And then as it evolves, you things get placed into place, and you got specialists that you can depend on. These guys really know what they're doing. Let's get them in here. I don't need to do this. So yeah, I think in that part of it has, but the day-to-day firefighting is, the old saying, you got to put the wet stuff on the red stuff. I don't think that changed. I think the medical calls is, some techniques have changed, but still, you got to stop bleeding. You got to start a heart. You got to, I think that's all the same. So, any organizations, I was not active in any organization. Armed Forces, I did not serve. No. People are put on this earth to do certain things. You give certain skills. God gives us all certain skills to do what we need to do. So I was at the right place. I think I was at the right place to do what I'm supposed to be, along with 300 other guys when I first came home and 600 guys when I left. We're all, I think, at the right place. My family, the support of my family was probably the best, because of, I needed to support them. I needed a job, but the job actually took me away from them a lot. So their support helped me be a better firefighter. My wife is at home to support me when I was at work was just outstanding. And this is probably going to hit a question that we're going to hit down the road, but and I said this when I retired, and was thanking everybody that, when you stand up there at the hot dog, I'm thanking everybody that you can think of in the room. And of course, my wife's sitting there, and I think she thought I was going to leave her out. She was my hero, because every third day I get up at 6:30 in the morning and get ready to go to work, and I'm gone at 7, and I don't get back to the next day at 8. So there's 2 days she's got to get kids ready to go to school. She's got to feed them breakfast. She's got to feed them supper. She's got to get them to baseball practice or softball practice or soccer practice. She's got to help with homework. She's got 3 kids at home that she's giving baths to and making sure they're put in bed. I'm at the fire station doing my thing, and as she said, and probably every wife out there would hear this, everything that bad happened at home happened on that third day that we weren't there, and so she, our wives kept the family going and kept the pressure off of me to where I could do my job at work and not have to worry about what was going on at home. Firefighting, I know, is dangerous, and it could, could interfere with my health a little bit. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But I feel good now. I feel like I'm in some of the best shape I probably was than I was in my 30s. But I'm probably more health conscious than I was when I was in the 30s. I know that we were exposed to a lot of stuff, and we did take precautions, but in our earlier years, you was tough if you could fight fire without an air pack, which was not a smart thing to do, but that was, times change and we get smarter as, and things, but I don't feel like right now, probably playing ball when I was younger has more effect on my soreness now than firefighting did, if joints hurting and things like that. So far, yeah. Just keep going to the doctor and get checked. Yeah. All you can do. I know. To remember about me, I would just like for them to know that probably, I came to work every day prepared to work, prepared to be a fireman. And I wanted everybody, not everybody, we all don't see things the same way. And, everybody does things different. And that I wanted to just come to work and get my job done, be the best I could be around other people that knew their job and do their job. And let's take care of the citizens of Greensboro. They're the ones that's paying us. They're the ones that's depending on us. As long as we do that, I felt like I was okay, to do that every day. Feel that way. If I was asked to go to a training center to give a speech to the new recruits, I would tell them, first thing, to enjoy the ride. This is a career, but it's also a family. And to get to know the other firefighters, get to know your job. The more you know your job, the easier it is and the more you can enjoy it. Excuse me.
Okay. We'll give you some more wine.
But to, just like I said about myself, I hope, come to work every day ready to work, be prepared. Know that it's not always going to go your way. It's not always going to go your way. That's okay. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to go your way. You're fitting into an organization that's got many spokes in the wheel, and you're one of them, and you can't control all the spokes, so just be the best you can be. For my family, remember about me that I always had them first. They were on my mind the most, and that I worked hard to give them what they had and to try to guide them into being adults, which I think I have. My 3 children are very successful. And I hope that seeing what I did and how I did it and how I conducted myself had a part in that. So I would hope they would know that I was just a hard worker that wanted to go to work, and even when I wasn't at work, we're going to work hard to make this right. We're going to do the right thing. I don't know anybody without, a bunch of people, so let's cut that one. Well, I coached, my life is away from the fire department in coaching that you was asking about. I started coaching even before I came on the fire department. I started coaching football in the Pop Warner League back in 1974. I actually coached a kid that played in 2 Super Bowls. And Lee Rousson played for the Giants, and he played for Cleveland Browns, and know him. And then I left when I had girls. I had 3 girls, and they played soccer. Well, they needed a coach, so I'd got out of the football. And so I started coaching soccer, and I coached all 3 through the different areas, and did that for, golly, 20 years probably. And then when I actually went in and helped high school coach soccer there some, and the football coach come and said, we need to get you back to your roots back in '08 at Northeast, so he hired me to coach football. And so I went in there with him and coached till 2013. I retired in 2010, so I became a full-time football coach. And then he retired, and I was going to retire, and then I got hired to go to Eastern Guilford High School in 2013 and stayed there as a football coach until 2019. And then in 2019, I said, I'm gonna step away again. I was kind of getting tired. And a coach from Page called and said, just how retired are you? He had lost his defensive coordinator, and it was like March. And I graduated from Page. So that kind of tugged on my, okay, that'd be pretty cool. I'll go finish up coaching football at the high school that I graduated from. So I went there and stayed 2 years, and after the COVID year, I've stepped back and So coaching is, I felt like as a coach, I ran my company as a coach, as a captain. I thought that the same principles. Fire department is probably the best team sport I've ever been on, because all the teams out here that play each other practice together, and they practice and they go play another team. You get the firemen, and my team might be working with this team on the other side of town that we've never been with, and we make it work because everybody has been trained the same way. So the teamwork in the fire department, you take that and then take your coaching mentality to run your company in the fire department, but also to take how the fire department did things and how we work together and put it back into that sports team. So I think it was a two-way street, and I think that's what made me successful. You can sell that if you want to.
When I do my interview, I'm going to tell all the lies.
What I miss, I guess, is the guys. I mean, that's what everybody's going to say. I mean,
What do you mean by that?
Just the hanging around with the guys. I mean, being in the station with the guys. I mean, yeah, we went through a lot of stuff together. And the old saying is, you know them better than you know your family. You do. I mean, you do. I mean, you know what they like, what they don't like. But what we talked about the first interview, sitting at the dinner table, you'd finish eating dinner and sit there for another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Then you'd play cards for 20 minutes to find out who was going to wash the dishes. It would have took 5 minutes to do, but it was just all that. Sitting out behind the station on a summer night when one guy's washing the car and everybody's out there talking around, and maybe jump in and help him, or do that. Just the camaraderie that you always had, with the guys. I ride by stations now, the station I was at, 40, not putting nothing on the guys that's there. But I'll tell my wife, on a summer or spring day, I said, ride by and the front doors are open. I said, well, when we were there would be 4 chairs out there and we'd all be sitting at the front of the station watching the traffic go by. But it seems like you don't see that anymore. You don't see them guys sitting out there. Maybe there's a reason for that, but that was great times. That was great times. So I think we covered it.
Well, you didn't tell them how much you love me.
Well, but they ought to know it. I'm sitting here. I gave up my morning of watching it rain and all.
In closing, the Greensboro Firefighters History Book Committee hopes you have gained a greater insight into the dangers, the challenges, and emotional events that have influenced and shaped the American firefighter.